Hi everybody, Mike from Positive Edge Run Coaching. I'm going to take you through a little bit of a tutorial on run form, and this is going to be a 101, but I can tell you with my own experience that if you take these tips into your next run and start to practice them, it won't take long before you're going to feel that you're running easier, you're running faster, you're running smoother and with more efficient economy. You're going to enjoy it more, okay? And the big thing is you're going to take big strides, pardon the pun, and stay injury free, okay? So what I want to do here is we're going to go from head to toe. I'm going to show you what you need to do and then tell you why, okay? So first of all, your gaze should be gentle and it should be forward, slightly up towards the horizon. You want to make sure that you're not closing those airways, and that's kind of the number one thing and the number one position that's going to dictate the rest of your run form, okay? So nice gentle gaze, out slightly towards the horizon. Seems simple, but catch yourself on this if you find yourself like this or looking at the pavement. The second thing, bring those shoulders down and constantly be thinking about having those shoulders down. I'm sure you've all been out for a run. Sometimes it's an intense run, or you've seen other runners run and those shoulders are coming up like this. What causes that usually is tension, okay? And it might be tension from the run itself, or it might be tension from some other aspect of your life. But keep a scan on that and keep those shoulders down, okay? If you feel them coming up towards your ears, bring them back down. You're going to hear me talk about tension a lot, okay? And added tension. Any extra tension that you put into your run that's not necessary is energy that you're actually not using to go forward, okay? So bring those shoulders down, relax them as much as possible, and you'll notice a big difference right there. You also want to bring the shoulders back ever so slightly, okay? That'll dictate a little bit of your posture and your run form as well. Your chest. Think about a string being pulled in the middle of your chest, not like hugely exaggerated, but just pulled out enough. So what that does is it brings the shoulders back, it brings your arm back a bit, brings the head up a bit. And I'll talk about lean later, but it will naturally help you with having a proper run lean, okay? So think about a nice string being pulled from the middle of that chest. That's going to bring that chest out. Your elbows or your arms, you want to keep those arms relatively close to your torso, okay? When I'm running, I like to actually graze it off my torso. If that doesn't work for you and you have to have them out a little bit more, that's okay, but focus on that. The reason for that, it doesn't matter if there's a little bit of wind or a lot of wind, but there's always air resistance, okay? If you're running like this, you're taking up more space, and then what's happening is it's creating more wind resistance and air resistance, and it's making your run tougher than it needs to be, okay? Also, what happens is it kind of naturally makes you a little bit less stable, okay? So then you're spending more time going side to side, and you don't want that. You want to be spending that energy going forward, okay? Your hands, it may seem like a little thing, but you want to focus on not having a death grip on those hands, okay? It comes down to tension. Again, when you're adding tension and you're holding those hands tight, that's extra energy that you can't be using in the run itself, okay? So keep those hands closed. Think of holding like a cotton ball or a potato chip or something that you don't want to break, but make sure you're not death gripping those hands, okay? Arm swing. When you're swinging those arms, you're swinging those hands, you want it to come down, your hands to come to the midline of your body, okay? No further. You want to be able to keep those shoulders back and you want to keep stable, but you want those hands to come to the middle of the body. Again, that comes down to wind resistance and air resistance as well. You're always going to have that. It's not going to completely take that extra effort that it takes to run against the wind away. But what it will do, it kind of creates this cutting through the wind type feeling, and it'll make a big difference, again, especially over the long runs, whether it's a full marathon or a half marathon or even a 10K or a 5K. Any extra tension or intensity that you don't need to be using takes away from the run itself, okay? Let's talk quickly about side-to-side stuff when you're running. Any added effort that you're spending going side to side is effort that's not going forward. It's energy that's not going forward, okay? So obviously it helps if you've got a stronger core and you're doing your cross training, but you can also really focus on this while you're running. So catch yourself. If you feel yourself going side to side, tighten things up. You want to be able to breathe properly so you're not holding your breath or keeping that stable where that becomes an issue. But focus on not doing this, okay? So focus on keeping everything nice and tight and going straight forward. Up and down movement when you're running. Obviously, there is going to be naturally some of that up and down movement while you're running, but you want to make sure you're not over exaggerating that, because when you're going up and down too much, as I've said before, you're not spending that energy into going forward. So keep an eye on that. If you've got an exaggerated up and down movement, you know, you can almost do a little scan and see where that head is, and you almost want to keep it on a little bit of a line as much as possible, okay? So again, keeping yourself nice and stable. Your foot strike is going to be key to your running, okay? It's going to be key to how fast you're going. It's going to be key to your injury prevention, and it's just going to be key to how smooth and how enjoyable that run is. I want you to watch this closely. When you're striking with your foot on that pavement or on that trail, you want that foot strike to be as close to your hip or even slightly behind your hip as possible. The reason for that is anytime you're striding ahead of your hip, what that causes is a braking force, and it comes through your ankle, your knee, your hip, up to your shoulder. So from an injury standpoint, that can be an issue over time. But the other thing is too, is it causes that braking force, so it makes the running tougher. It causes a resistance. Alternatively, if your foot is hitting underneath your hip and hitting the pavement on the way back, you're actually getting energy, getting speed, and getting strength from that foot strike on the pavement, okay? So what you want to do to be able to strike the foot properly, when you want to get quicker, it's not about lengthening that stride. You want to keep that stride nice and short, and you want to increase your cadence so the foot strikes are quicker. You increase your lean, again, bringing that string out from the middle of that chest, and again, hitting the ground either at the hip or slightly in front. If you watch any of the real fast runners, you're going to see that their lean is like this, okay? Now, in order to do that, something that's really important is that you've got loose hip flexors, and that's why in my spin classes, at the end of my spin classes, I say, like, you runners, you need to make sure you're keeping those hips loose, because if those hip flexors are super tight, you're like this, and it's virtually almost impossible to run with proper form, because you want to be able to press those hips out, okay? So, foot strike underneath or slightly behind the hip, okay? The big thing that I want you to also focus on is overall relaxation from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet, okay? Scan yourself. If you find yourself being tense, sometimes, like I said earlier, that can be a result of the run itself, the intensity itself. During your runs, do that scan, not only from a relaxation point, but from an overall form point, and your run will be so much better. Reach out to me if you need anything, mike@positiveedge.ca. Practice these things little by little. It won't take long. In another video, I'm going to give you some running drills that can help you learn this really, really quick. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, I coach runners individually, personally, so it's based on you and your goals and what that looks like for you. So reach out to me. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this, and take good care.